Welcome back to another episode of Girl Sing the Podcast. I am your solo host today, Kaylee Judge. And wherever you found us today, whether on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, we're so glad to have you. Today, I am going to be talking about self-help and all things under kind of what I am terming for that umbrella. It includes a lot of things in my mind, so let's jump right in. Something that I was thinking about, honestly, recently, because I was looking for a new book, was just about that. What is the last thing that I've bought or book that I've read or even podcast I've listened to that I thought, this is going to make a difference in my life. This is maybe for you, you might even think this thing's going to change my life, and it has fallen short, whether that be a book or a podcast, maybe some fancy journal or planner, or some kind of budget sheet or skincare routine or supplements, or you inserted in, you've bought it and thought, after this, something's going to be different in my life and it's going to be great. And I think that's a shared human experience where we want to learn, we want to grow, we want to improve and do better. And there's nothing wrong with that, inherently speaking. But I think when we expect these things over time to do things in our mind and in our heart that really they're not built to do, that's when we can run into some serious problems. So that's what we're going to talk about today. When good things become bad things because they've become kind of like mini gods in our lives. And I think that self-help podcasts, even therapy, in that kind of world of manifestation and the universe and my truth and energies and things like that can really become very harmful to us because we're expecting those things to, I don't want to say fill a void, but in some cases, maybe it is filling a void, or you're trying to make it fill a void, or perhaps fix something that seems broken or make you better, especially when it comes to more of the productivity and optimization side of this whole conversation, where, if you had a better morning routine, maybe you'd be more productive at work, and so then you'd make more money, and then you could, and the dominoes continue to fall forever, it seems. But I think that some of these things aren't bad things. Wanting to be productive, wanting to improve, wanting to go to therapy, they're not bad things. Some of the things I listed, like, manifestation and the universe and your truth and energy and all of that woohoo type stuff, I would say those are not great things. I think they're just clever marketing skills from, honestly, the devil. But the others aren't necessarily bad, but I think they can become bad when they are our go-to things for finding identity, seeking joy or peace, maybe finding purpose or feeling worth and validation. I know I've definitely been in the thinking that the more productive I am, the more valuable I am, which is maybe true if we're thinking about corporate wise, but when it comes to day-to-day life, productivity does not equal identity or worth. And so getting out of that mindset is important, but I think it's easy to not choose that mindset. It's so easy to fall into it and be around people who believe that, and then it becomes kind of normal. So you think, well, everyone's trying to be more productive. Everyone wants to read the next leadership communication book so that way they can be better. Everyone's listening to this 3-hour-long podcast every other day so that way they can, learn and grow and improve. And sure, those things aren't bad, but why are you doing it? And I think a good question to ask is, when things get rough in life, or when you're looking for guidance or answers for things, where are you looking? Where are you finding guidance? Where are you turning to when life gets hard? Are you listening to a podcast first thing? You Google the topic you need guidance on in the Spotify podcast search and click on the first one and listen? Are you reading a book about it? Are you going to AI and asking ChatGPT how to solve your life's problems? Or are you praying? Are you talking to your community? Are you, if you're married, talking with your spouse and being open and having genuine, vulnerable conversation? Are you praying and seeking wise counsel? Wise counsel from people who know you, not wise counsel from a book or podcast of people who don't actually know your situation. And all this to say is books and podcasts aren't bad. You can learn lots from them. But more the point being that is the reason that we're seeking out these things good? Or is the reason that we feel unfulfilled? We are scared of being vulnerable with people around us, so we'd rather take advice from a stranger and things like that. So I think a good thing becomes a God when we expect it to do what really only God can do. And that's because there are limits to what self-help, what productivity and optimization culture can provide for you. Realistically speaking, sure, they can help you create better habits and routines, maybe provide you with some new communication skills with your spouse, your kids, or your coworkers. Perhaps it can teach you some nice leadership tricks or how to budget better and manage your finances, or maybe it'll teach you how to be a little bit more emotionally aware or understand your feelings. Yes, it can do all of these things. I'm not saying it can't and won't, but the extent to which they will do them will not be in a way where your heart and mind are truly changed. And what I am kind of talking about is really going to the book of John in the Bible, chapter 15, verse 5. And it says, and this is Jesus talking, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing." And of course, we know apart from God, you can go get a job and you can go do these things. But what this is really saying is, at least in the context of our conversation today, in the context of growth and improvement and things, the extent to which we can bear fruit is really going to hinder on our faith and our spirituality and our relationship with God and how we're growing in that. It's not going to hinder on whether or not you bought the most recent New York Times bestseller and read it 3 times in 1 month. That's not going to help you bear fruit. And the fruit that we're talking about is, of course, spiritual fruit. So fruits of the Spirit, patience, kindness, joy. All of these things are great things and things that we're really striving for when we're trying to grow and be a better person, right? And do better in the world and life. But you cannot do them when you are not attached to the source of those things at all. So something that I think is interesting about all of this is going back to the why. And I think why you're doing this is important, of course. Why is it that you absolutely hate reading fiction, but you'd read 20 self-help books in 2 months if that was the only alternative? And I'm not saying you have to go pick up a fiction book, but I know I personally, and this is kind of coming from experience, I personally would not read fiction. Oh, there's a bug. Gosh, that scared me. Okay, there was a minor bug situation. We're back now. I can't specifically remember what I was saying, but I do have an outline, so I know about where we were at. So when you keep buying another book, watching more podcasts, searching more things on AI, beyond asking yourself why you're doing those things, maybe ask what you're looking for. What are you seeking? And I would encourage you to pause. And pause and see if, instead of a book or podcast or another ChatGPT conversation, maybe God can provide you with those things that you're searching for if you would be patient, if you would talk with Him, seek wisdom in His Word and counsel from Him. Not that you shouldn't ever read a book. Definitely not saying that, because I do love to read and I like to listen to podcasts, but they're not the end all be all. They're not 100% true because they're not from the Lord, and they don't know you, and they don't know the way you are uniquely crafted and made, and your personality and the things you're passionate about and the things you've been through. They don't know those details, but God does. Beyond this, self-improvement and optimization and self-help culture say that you should become your best self, that you need to believe in yourself, to find yourself, that you're enough, to follow your heart, and all these things. And Jesus says, through the gospel, that we should actually deny ourselves, that we should believe in Him more than us, so that we should lose our own lives to find it, to follow Him, that His grace is enough for us even when we're not sufficient, and that our hearts are actually deceitful. Christianity is not about self-improvement and continually pointing out our flaws so that way we can nitpick them and be better and make micro changes to improve. But it's about surrendering, understanding that we're actually not enough, that we're actually sinful. And while we're here on this earth, we will continue to sin and fall short. But because of Jesus, we have a place in heaven with our name on it specifically reserved for us. And that makes us enough, and that makes us worthy. And that is what our identity can be found in. Christianity is not behavior modification and making adjustments so that way we seem like good people, so that way we seem like we have it all together, and that we live these wonderful lives of just joy and peace, and we're graceful and all these things. But it's actually about heart transformation and really being a new person made new in Christ, not through planners and schedules and time blocking, but genuinely made new, renewed in heart and in mind and in spirit. So I would encourage you to ask yourself where recently you've been looking for this heart, mind, and spirit transformation. Maybe I didn't bring it up. Maybe it's not a book or a podcast. Maybe it's something else. And through this conversation, you realize, oh, I've been kind of searching for the answers in this thing. And it's provided it sometimes, and maybe gives me moments of peace and joy, but it's not really sustaining. And I think that is really tell-all, that the things of this world are just not sustaining. They can provide moments of clarity, moments of wisdom, but they're not going to get you through it all the time, like God, like Jesus will and promises to do. And that brings me to, I actually have 2 verses for today. First is Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 26, which says, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. And then Romans 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.